Aloha, everybody, and welcome to the Joystick Show, a podcast where three friends from high school in Hawaii get together to talk about video games, comics, and pop culture. I am here with the peanut butter to my jelly, the Oreo cookie to my cream, the cheese to my burger. I'm with Drake.
Hey!
And we have a very special guest tonight.
Super special.
Yeah, not only does he have amazing experience writing for videos that I watch all the time, just a content giant on YouTube, WatchMojo, but he also has a very cool and interesting and just really chef's kiss of a podcast, underrated. We are here with Derick McDuff. Derick, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys.
Yeah, man. Hey, I don't know how good I am at podcasting, but I do my research, and it was very easy with your show because I was like, damn, this guy has legit credits here. We're stoked. We're ready for it.
Awesome.
So I've listened to, in preparation for this, I probably listened to about 3 different episodes. I listened to your Green Knight episode. I listened to your Sucker Punch episode, which Drake and I were originally in a improv group that was called Sucker Punch.
Huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. And around that time, the movie came out and everything. So of course I had to click on that one. And
Emily Browning, let's go.
Yes, exactly. He knows this. Yeah, good call. And and Stardust, which I didn't know about. But my question for you is, what got you into movies, shows, film overall in the first place?
Oh man, I mean, I've always been like a big movie guy ever since, I was really young. My parents would always just show me stuff like Indiana Jones. I was right the age where I think maybe the first movie I ever went to was Jurassic Park, but I was always, as a kid, just like watching like on a little tube, TV, watching all the movies that I could. And then as I got older, as I became like a teenager and into my early 20s, I started to appreciate, kind of the more the more like prestige-y type films. I had my Spielberg tastes, which I still have, but then I got into more my Scorsese kind of taste, the more refined stuff, the stuff that is less of a big popcorn stuff. And then I, since I was just such a big movie fan, one of my first ever job was I actually worked in a movie theater.
All right, yes, there you go.
Which was fun, and I got to see just all the movies I wanted working in the theater. So, between, I don't know what it was, like 2006 to 2012 or something, I just saw it's just like 2 or 3 movies a week, just every week, everything that was big I would see. And I've always just been a really big fan of movies and shows and pop culture in general. But as I've gotten older, I've become a freelance writer. I've become more interested in film criticism, and have done some freelance writing. Most notably, as you mentioned, for WatchMojo, I got to write a lot of really cool top 10 lists for them about films and a number of other things. But yeah, we
got some questions about that, by the way. So
yeah,
it's coming.
It's been a ride for sure.
Right on. I mean, it's funny. I always joke like, man, my dream job is to like retire and like work in a movie theater and just watch everything and then take the posters at the end. So I don't know if you get to do that, but that's like what I would want to do. Is like take all the posters.
Yeah, my apartment is decorated with posters that I stole from the movie theater.
No doubt. But yeah, man, that's incredible. I could tell like just from listening to the episodes, like you guys are like Major League Baseball when it comes to analyzing, critiquing movies, where we're like Pop Warner, or I don't know what they call it for Little League. We're Little League. And we're like, how do you fit my glove? Like, how do I do this? So yeah, I was just like, these guys know what they're talking about. And it definitely came through. The other thing I wanted to follow up with you was you got Alan and Ariel on the podcast with you. How did you guys meet? And I know you kind of talked about it a little bit in the Stardust episode, but how did you kind of come up with the whole idea of the podcast and where did you guys first like just become friends, I guess?
So yeah, we all actually worked together. We all worked at a bookstore together, where me and Ariel actually still work for our day jobs. Just because unfortunately the film criticism bills don't always pay the bills. Yes. So I do have it's a side hustle for now, but yeah, I do still have my day job. But yeah, we all met at work, and we, over the years became friends. We would always talk about films. We're always really big film fans, and we would go see movies all the time. And then afterwards, we would just sit around and talk for hours about whatever we had just seen. And we were also all really big podcast fans. None of us really listened to the same podcasts, but we all were avid listeners. And so we kind of, over the years, dabbled with podcasting a little bit, just kind of messing around and recording ourselves and doing different things. And we were always kind of like, we're going to do our big podcast one day. And it has to be about film. And like we said in the Stardust episode, one day I was just watching Stardust, and I was like, and we were just kind of all agreeing that it's a really underrated movie. And that's where we're like, okay, wow, that's it. Underrated movies. And, that it's been so fun to talk about that specifically. And just like you guys, you guys obviously have been friends for many years. Me and Alan and Ariel have been friends for many years. And when you go into a podcast with somebody that you have that natural rapport with, you're like, okay, we know we can do this together.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we just have to have a conversation as friends, and then we just hit record and try not to say too many dumb things that other people outside of our friend group would, not allow us to say. So yeah, I completely understand that. Drake, do you have any WatchMojo questions, or should I follow up with another one?
Let's follow up with another one, and then we'll go deep diving into the Mojo Jojo land.
All right. So, I mean, you answered this one. My next question was going to be like, why did you guys create it? But it just right there, like, you guys were friends and you were watching the same movies, and it just, those conversations naturally carry themselves outside of the theater and then some, which we can completely relate. We actually just, we were friends in high school, but we actually just got to see a movie together, like all together in the same place for the first time at the beginning of this year, which was Avatar: Way of Water. And I swear, like, if we didn't have to be places that night, we would have stayed in the parking lot talking till like the next showing. Like, we were going to watch the whole movie again while we were talking about it. So I completely understand that.
That's the best.
Yeah, it's so great. But my question for you is, what was your favorite movie of last year? And what was your favorite not so great movie of last year?
Oh, that's a good question. So my favorite movie of last year was The Banshees of Inisherin. I think
I just watched it.
That's such a good movie. It was really close between that and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Those are my top two for sure. But Banshees is just such. It felt like a movie that was really made specifically for me. It got a lot of my things that I like about film. Great performances, by Colin Farrell, and like they're all of the principal cast is all just. The Oscars were, they just announced the nominees the other day, and all of the principal cast are all nominated. So as is, I'm a really big fan of the director. He has directed some of my favorite films, including Seven Psychopaths, which we covered on Underrated. Martin McDonough, I should say, is his name. He's a playwright, but he does movies as well. And he's just very darkly hilarious and is saying a lot of really interesting things about human nature. And I felt like that movie was a really great deconstruction of just like friendship and how tough male friendship can be at certain points, and just the balance you have to go between making great art and just being kind to your fellow people, and people who are making the art to kind of like lift themselves, and they're like, oh, he's got that whole thing. He's like, oh, people remember Beethoven, and it's like, yeah, but you'll never be Beethoven, like, and you're just throwing this. It was just a really hilarious, perfect, and poignant movie that I just could not stop thinking about. And to answer your question about how did you put it exactly?
So I said, which was a fantastic answer, as I love that you brought that up, because you brought up so many great points of Banshees of Inisherin too, which I completely second. But the other part that I asked was, what was your favorite not so great movie of last year? Because I don't think I don't want to say bad movie, but like a movie that it would be on nobody's like best movie of the year list, but you're like, that was pretty good.
Okay. Because the way I kind of took that was it's like when you, I don't know if you guys have Letterboxd, but for anybody like who's listening, when you do Letterboxd and you do the 1 star, but you give it the heart, that's right. That's how I took it. And
you're like, this is not a good movie, but I like it.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I might even love it.
Yeah. I had a great time with it, and I think there was a couple, but the one that really stood out for me was Moonfall, Like that movie was ridiculous. It was so dumb. The moon kept creeping up on people. When I wrote a little short review for it on Letterboxd, it was just like, it felt. You remember a couple years ago when there was those memes that were just like, we fed a computer 50,000 scripts from disaster movies, and this is what came out. This feels like that. This feels like it was just like like a meme of just a disaster movie, because it was just so ridiculous and over the top, and it's like incredibly dated now because it just keeps being like, Elon Musk, what would you do? And you're like, oh my, it's so ridiculous and over the top, and just like, it's ridiculous in the best possible way. It feels like a genre that died a decade ago with, it's a Roland Emmerich film, and he makes those big dumb disaster movies that everybody loved in the 90s, and we all kind of realized around 2005, like, these are not good movies, but man, it is fun, and it's probably nothing like that is ever going to get made again, because it lost a ton of money. Like, and I get why, because it was bad, but I was just having the time of my life watching it.
Man, I wish, I feel like I could dub over Moonfall and put in Morbius for some people, and it would still work on your description. Because I was like, what was this movie that was meant? Was this like an early 2000s movie? No, this just came out last year. Oh, okay. Why? But there were some people who liked it, and they were like, honestly, it wasn't that bad of a movie. So yeah, I could see that. It had Halle Berry in it, right?
Yeah.
Halle Berry
and Patrick Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was
the megalith. The moon is a megalith. Like, conspiracy theorists everywhere were like, "Yeah, this is my show."
right. That could happen, bro. That could happen.
I mean, Dark Side of the Moon. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So I got a fun question for you. Just throwing it out there, is your shit. But if you could live in any fictional universe, what would it be?
Oh, this is good. So let me ask a clarifying question here. Am I still just a normal guy in this universe, or do if I choose Harry Potter? Not that I would want to live in Harry Potter, but like
you're not a Muggle, though.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Because I always like to ask this question, but I'm like, you're still you. So if you choose Harry Potter, you're just a Muggle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't do anything, but wizards. All right. Yeah. No, you can be whatever you want.
Okay. Then if I was just me, I would say Pokemon, because anybody can be a Pokemon trainer. But
that's a good one.
But if I can just be kind of whatever, you know what? Maybe I'm thinking the Lord of the Rings universe, because like I wouldn't want to be a peasant in Rohan, but if I could be like hanging out with like Aragorn and Gandalf, and I could have like magic powers, that would be pretty rad. I feel like hanging out with the elf, like if I could be an elf in Middle Earth, sign me up.
That sounds great. I know you're preaching to the choir.
No, I would second that as well too. I mean, you marry a super hot elf, right? Mm-hmm. Then you get endowed with some elf life for the rest of it, right? Just like how Aragorn was. And then you have a super badass kid, and then you just ride off into the sunset back over to the Greylands, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. There you go.
Don't you suck out the life force from your elf wife, though? Doesn't she now become
hopefully
immortal?
She's sucking the life force out of you.
Heyo. Spicy.
Got that spicy on it now. We got that explicit rating coming up.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. We're going for that NC-17. No, that's so great, man. But no, I love that. I love the Pokemon. We've actually had that conversation on our show too before. And my rebuttal to that is, if there's a giant bird that can literally just pick you up and drop you in the mountain, like, as cool as Pokemon would be, I think I would be terrified. Because knowing my luck, like, I'm running into a Charmander that just straight like melts me on the way to school or something. But who knows? So I love all those answers. Those are fantastic. And yeah, I mean, agree.
Yeah, just gotta stay out of the tall grass and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's true. You're right. Anytime you go in the tall grass, a wild Rattata messes you up.
Damn Rattatats.
Yeah, that will start a battle. So no doubt. All right. So we got, we know some of your underrated movies after listening to your podcast. We know The Green Knight. Like I said, we know Stardust. We know Sucker Punch. But what was some of your overrated movies that, okay. I don't know, let's just say maybe in the last decade.
Okay. I'm trying, I think it might be a little over a decade now, but, and I hate to rag on movies, but I really did not like Gravity. Like, people just like went insane for that movie. And I was like, I really enjoyed nothing about it. I'm not a huge fan of Alfonso Cuarón. Like, I think he like makes really beautiful movies that are just like kind of boring, and like no, Children of Men is great, obviously, but like I could not with Gravity. I was like, this movie's 90 minutes long and it feels 3 hours long.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the premise of Gravity right now. Like I was gonna, like in my mind, I'm like Interstellar, but like no, it's not Interstellar. It had a sci-fi premise, right?
Yeah, Sandra Bullock, George Clooney, right?
It's there. Yeah, Sandra Bullock is just on a space station and just things explode and she just goes from A to B to C. And a lot of that.
Right. No, I remember. I remember. Yeah, that's pretty much it, actually. Yeah. Because like George Clooney eventually just dies. Does he fly off into space?
Yeah, he dies like at the very beginning, and then he comes back later, and you're like, what? And then it's like, she just imagined that because she can't ever, like, he comes back to motivate her, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, this badass woman couldn't do anything by herself. She needs to imagine a man to tell her something to do, to motivate her. Great. Like, I don't know.
Right. It just, you're totally right. I mean, it was so bad that I watched it in theaters and still forgot what it was when you said it. So and
it's a lot of scream acting by Sandra Bullock. She just kind of like shouts throughout the entire movie, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember, and they made a big deal about the special effects of that movie. And I remember thinking like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, it looked good, but it wasn't like I was watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy crap, this is insane. Like 1,000 orcs on screen in this massive battle and all that stuff. So yeah, I like that. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think. The only thing that's going on in my head, because I spend too much time on Twitter now, is anything that the MCU put out last year, which is all of like what's going on in my head right now.
I didn't hate the MCU last year. I get why like people had their problems with like Thor, but I was like, that might be like another one of my answers for your previous question, like a movie that you know wasn't great but you still had fun with. Like I still was like Thor 4 was dumb, but I liked it, you know.
Yeah, which I think is a perfect description.
About the latest Jurassic Park?
Oh, that was the same. Yeah, I was like, this movie is dumb, but like. Like, things are happening. Like I'm like, why is it about locusts? But I'm like, it's still Jurassic Park, you know. I was like, I wanted it to be more dumb. I wanted it to be like, because they were like, it's like gonna be the end game of Jurassic Park. It was like, sure, then bring everyone back, not just the original cast. Bring back the Kirbys from Jurassic Park 3 and have William H. Macy and T. Leone get eaten by a velociraptor. You know, bring back Billy, bring back Vince Vaughn and like all these random characters, you know, bring back Jake Johnson. Like I would love
the original Raptors without feathers. Like just bring them all back.
Bring back the kid that what's his face scares with the raptor claw in the first. Bring that kid back and then actually have his stomach opened by a raptor claw. Let's go.
Yeah. I know you might have just become Drake's best friend because you've referenced Pokemon, Lord of the Rings, and Jurassic. And Jurassic Park. So yeah, you're 3 for 3 at the Drake.
You're making those sandwiches. I'm eating them. I know you do a lot of like top 10 lists. In fact, a lot of the things that you've done in WatchMojo have been very large of breath, meaning you've taken on things like What If the Earth Never Had Humans, all the way to like top 10 best Disney Channel BFFs, right? So for me, and Thomas can attest to this, I love listing things, doing a little bit of research.
He's a list
man. List. Mm-hmm. And I'll get caught in it. So my question to you as a fellow writer, I know as a poet, white space, being able to kind of use your words wisely to create much more deeper meaning than just putting out random vocabulary words. So how do you narrow down what you're going to put in your top 10? And what's your process for making it more than just a general top 10 list based off of statistics?
That's a good question. Yeah, because with WatchMojo, it's really a collaborative process, you know, because while I am the writer, you know, it's instead of just me putting out something like, oh, this is like a Derick McDuff article or Derick McDuff's top 10, it's like a WatchMojo top 10. So I really do work with a lot of other people there, and long story short, basically, I do a lot of research beforehand. I look up other similar lists so that I'm not missing anything. I'm not missing anything obvious. I'll compile basically anything that should be on any given list and do kind of a long document. And then I'll have my own personal top 10, and then I'll send it to whoever at WatchMojo, and there will be few other people who work on it, and they will kind of give their opinions, their lists, and they'll have like a meeting, and they'll come back to me with the finalized result based on all of these different factors. My list, their list, the list that you can actually, because anybody who's been on the website, people can vote on any list before it comes out and be like, here, and make suggestions and stuff like that. That's always a big part of it too. And then they come back to me with a finalized list that is a combination of all of those things, and then I get to write about it. And that's nice because it's not just me being like I have to eliminate my own personal biases from that. I have to kind of just be like, all right, this is the definitive list. It's not a Derick list. This is a list that kind of will speak for the general consensus or what should be, or what is kind of like seen as any given topic. So yeah, I do have to kind of pull in from everything and kind of like speak in a style that is more universal than I would if I was just writing my own thing.
Right. That's got to be kind of hard though, right? I mean, it's like, because you put in all this research, you're like, okay, this is the list. And then someone comes back, it's like, actually, this is the list. And then you have to be like, all right, well, I guess is that hard?
It can be. Sometimes you're like, you really are like, I really want to write about whatever thing. And sometimes I will be like, all right, I'm just going to put this one at number 1. So maybe that'll like tip the scale on my own personal list. So maybe that'll tip the scales a little bit and then it'll get put on. But it is fun to just kind of take things from other people too and work together. Just like, a podcast that I do with my friends. Everyone is kind of putting in their own input, and getting to see the final result. And like when I've done top 10 lists, and obviously just like you guys, I love ranking things. And that's one of the main reasons why I have been writing with WatchMojo, just because I love doing that. But I've also been branching out and doing a lot of video essays for them, and doing a lot of work with that. And that's been really fun. And, once I get to see the final result of the video essays or the top 10 lists, and seeing those final videos, which are something that I could never make. If I made a top 10 list, I could never make something that pristine and polished, and just the effects and all that good stuff are something that I do not have it's not in my repertoire to make something like that. And even if I did, it would take.
You got a lot of other skills, man. You stay in your lane, because your lane, you're driving fast and hard, and you're doing well. Okay,
Well, then that's the thing too. Is like that's my skill is being able to write this, and I can contribute that to the videos, and then somebody else comes in and uses their expertise and makes a final project that I'm really proud of a lot of the time, or pretty much all the time. It's always really fulfilling to see those realized.
And that's so awesome. I mean, literally, somebody asked me today. We were like, "Hey, we're speaking to somebody from WatchMojo. You guys have any questions?" And it was just that, which I think you answered, which is how many people actually goes into that list. But it sounds like it's a ton of people. Maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 10 people get their eyes on it before it actually goes out there to the world. Is that kind of a ballpark?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I've never actually sat in on a meeting. There's always like an open invitation for freelancers to come in and sit in on a meeting, but they are based in Toronto, so I have never been in that neck of the woods. I'm in Southern California, so I'm not sure exactly how many people would sit in a meeting, but that sounds about ballpark right. Probably how many people. And then I've always got coordinators and different freelance people that I work with, or the freelance coordinators and stuff that I work with. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Derick, how would a young writer who enjoys watching movies, who's kind of in the same ballpark as, how would they get started in doing something that you're doing, being able to kind of fit into that industry if they're just starting out? What kind of advice would you give to that individual?
Honestly, I would say, find like a website or something that you're interested in. And if it's something you watch or read a lot, just, if you look if they have any openings, if they do, you can submit to them. Or even if it's something that you don't like look up a lot, just kind of like go check out different blogs, different articles, different places where people are putting out content like that, and say, hey, if you guys are looking for anybody, if they are accepting applications, inquire with them, say and make sure you have some samples of some stuff you've maybe written in the past, send it to them, and see if they want to work with you. There's also, we are living in, which is really nice about living in the kind of wide open internet age that we do. There are so many options for people to kind of do it themselves. Stuff like you can make just write Medium articles and put those out there and see if they catch on. And even if they don't, you can always use those for your resume when you are submitting to different blogs and sites like that. A Letterbox is a really good one. I use Letterbox just primarily to write kind of like 2-3 sentence little reviews that are jokes, but you can also definitely use it to write long form reviews, stuff like that. And at the very least, hone your craft, but at best, you can use it to really build up that kind of repertoire of just like articles that you can point to, like, here's something I've written, you can check it out, take a look at this. And as you are submitting to different places, get seeing if people are interested in that, and also just have a thick skin, get used to rejection, because anybody who's writing anything, you're going to have to submit a lot of times before you get a yes. That's the thing with any kind of writing, whether it be fiction or whether it be film criticism or whatever. Just get used to, however many no's before you get that yes.
Ooh, invaluable information for all of you who want to get into this same pathway. Derick, super appreciate that. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. I know we all like rankings. So what is your top 5 of your top 10 lists that you've done, or at least the top 5 projects that you've done out of all the projects that you've done?
Oh man, that's a really good one. Off the top of my head, one that I did recently that I really had a fun time with was I got to, because like I mentioned, I'm in Southern California, so I've spent my whole life going to Disneyland, and I got to write a video essay about the unrealized or canceled Disneyland projects. I got to do a lot of research with that. It was more of a long form, kind of interesting, in-depth article that I had a lot of fun with. That one was really cool.
That sounds really cool, because I'm sure there's a bunch of things that were supposed to go up at Disneyland that they never did, and they're like, just cover it up with Star Wars Land, or cover it up with some like fake rocks, or put a turkey leg stand there. I don't know. Yeah. So I can imagine that there's that kind of thing. So that does sound like an interesting one.
That was really cool. And just, it's a little tidbit from that. There was going to be a Disneyland, like, not cruise ship, but a Disneyland boat that would go, like, it was like a theme park that would float, that would go from like port to port. And it was like half the size of, or half the capacity of a regular Disneyland. And like, it would stop in places like Australia and South America that didn't have their own Disneyland. So, and it was kind of one of the casualties of the 90s, and, the failure of Euro Disney and Frank Wells's death and all that stuff. But yeah, some interesting stuff with that.
That's crazy.
Ooh,
I mean, that blows my mind, because we couldn't even keep a ferry in Hawaii where we drink our from. There was like a ferry when we were in high school. They were doing this thing called a super ferry, and we were all like, we're going to take the ferry. And we lived on Oahu, and we're like, we're going to go to Kauai and camp for the weekend. And like the week before we were going to go, they're like, yeah, they canceled it. It was killing too many whales.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So, which is very sad.
It wasn't killing whales technically. They asked to prove a negative. Tell us that it isn't killing the whales or affecting the whales negatively. And so the military ended up taking it over because everybody poo-pooed on it. So,
but if you can't say no, I mean,
I guess, sure.
No, that's crazy. That's a really good one. Anything else that come to mind, any list that you're particularly proud of, where you're like, man, I crushed that one. That was solid.
There's a couple. I'll just go through a little more rapid fire. But
sure.
One that I really did that I'm really proud of is I wrote one called Top 10 Types of Villains, where I just kind of like wrote about like different villainous archetypes, and that was really
villains.
Cool. Yeah, villains.
Oh, I thought you said Dylans. I was like, I got a buddy named Dylan. I can't wait to share that with him. I mean, like, what? Yeah, let's see the top 10 evil Dylans. Or whatever.
Another one was top 10, and then it got expanded, and I made it into a top 20 cartoon finales. So I remember just like watching Adventure Time, like crying, rewatching the finale and being like, I'm getting paid for this right now. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Oh my God, Adventure Time, so good.
Right? Like,
such a good one.
So I got to watch a lot of cool stuff of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember the finale, but like just that right there makes me want to go and find it and watch it right now. Because it was so good.
Yeah.
You remember the finale, Drick?
I do not, but I mean, get on WatchMojo and check out all these things, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it all. Yeah, that's a great one though. Any other finales that you can think of from that cartoon? So like now you've piqued my interest, and I'm like, I can look up the article. I know I can, but I just want to hear it from the guy who wrote it and curated it himself.
I'm trying to think because the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood one that was on there. No, sorry,
Nice.
we excluded anime. So I was like
Animes?
specifically like I remember putting it in the show notes. It's like anime's not included, so I apologize to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I was in like the description.
Nice.
That was
There
like
you
my
go.
favorite finale of anything ever. The Korra finale, or the Korra and the Avatar finales, I think were both on there once they expanded to a 20.
Yeah.
I'm really big fan of both of those shows, and yeah, just super amazing endings to both of them.
Oh, okay. That's great. I will admit, like, I couldn't stick through Legend of Korra. Maybe I was a little biased to Aang and all that stuff. I might have to give it another shot. But based on what you just said, how confident are you, are you in the new Avatar being made? Like, do you think it's going to be good?
I'm nervous because I was like, I love Last Airbender. I'm like one of the few people who actually liked Korra even more. I really dug what they did with it. I thought it was a lot more mature. Season 2 was a little bit rough, but like especially once you got to season 3, like I think Zahir is one of the the villains on that show were phenomenal. Especially Zahir in season 3, who was voiced by Henry Rollins, and he's just like this philosophical anarchist who, like, he's like, a lot of the villains on Korra are right. They just take things too far. Like everyone feels like they're influenced by Zuko so much. So I'm a really, really big Korra fan. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the new Avatar show, for sure, because we'll see where it goes. I did like the kind of like steampunky, like 1920s setting that's in Korra. I'm like, all right, where are they going to go now? Is it going to be like the 50s? Is it going to be future? Like, we'll see what happens because we don't know anything about it really. But yeah,
right, yeah. I'm excited. Like I agree with you. Cautiously optimistic is a perfect way to describe it.
Well, what about that Netflix live action one coming out as well?
I'm a lot more nervous about that one because the creators were on board and then they left. So that's not like the original creator. That like anytime they're like we're in and then they leave,
and then they leave. It's like, what are you doing, Netflix?
Yeah.
What are you doing? But we will see. Netflix CEO has said, I've never canceled a show that wasn't successful. So we will see with that. You did mention, though, you talked about anime. Is there any anime that you're watching right now that you're really liking?
So I'm not a big anime fan, but like I feel like I don't like 90% of anime. It's not really my thing, but like the 10% that hits with me really hits with me. I'm always just like, oh my God. Like I'm always on the lookout for that like hidden gem. Like I mentioned Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like that show had me in tears so many times. I think it is one of the most perfect, not just animes or cartoons, but TV shows ever made. And it's something that I can rewatch whenever I want because it's so impactful. Like the themes are so brilliant, and I'm a really big sucker for just like things about philosophy and just like the nature of the world and just characters' relationships with their beliefs and religion and just every other thing like that. And it's also just stories that are really great about characters and have just great character dynamics and interactions. So if you have any suggestions for an anime like that, I'm all ears.
Well, you should tune in every Tuesday morning and Thursday because we got the. We do have our anime shows that we follow week to week here, and we all kind of got our favorites. But yes, we will definitely recommend it. And if not, we'll link up online and we'll trade episodes and whatnot, and we'll go from there. But Drake, do you have any other questions for Derick?
Just anything that you're working on now that you could give us a little bit, give the fans too a little bit of hinty about that, something that you're looking forward to putting out in the near future here.
So I just finished up a couple WatchMojo projects. I'm taking like a little bit of a breather from my freelance stuff with that. As far as podcast stuff goes, I actually did just a little while ago record an episode with Billy Ray Bruton, who's one of my favorite podcasters. People might know him from Screen Drafts and then his own podcast, which is really great, The Incinerator. And he came on and talked with me and Ariel about A Home at the End of the World, a movie that I wasn't really familiar with. And so I was really excited to talk about. And then something else that this is really on the back burner, and who knows when it's going to happen, but I am starting to make work on a documentary myself with my best friend from college who was a film major. Really, really early on, I'm just starting to do the writing for that, and hopefully it will happen at some point. But I'm trying to utilize a lot of the skills that I've honed writing video essays to do something for myself. And he's going to kind of cover more of the video editing and stuff like that I it's not really in my wheelhouse. But it's going to be something I'll just say that is related to tennis. And it's going to be kind of very inspired by, if anybody has ever seen any the John Boy's video essays, definitely check him out. I'm a really big fan of his. Big inspiration. That was a really inspiration for the project that I'm going to be working on now. I don't want to say too much though, because it's very early days with that.
Right. You're trying to dance. Okay. That sounds awesome, man. It's so cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. Even that. Yeah. My last question is like, how can people connect with you? How can they support you? That kind of stuff. Because I'm on board. I want to follow your journey for this documentary. It sounds really badass. And you've seriously piqued my interest. Like, where can people find you, support you and your podcast?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the first thing I say is just like you have so kindly done. Just give my show a listen and a rating. Underrated. It's on all the podcast apps. So, however you're listening to you guys here and your lovely show, if after you have caught up with them, you need something else to listen to, go check out Underrated. You can listen to all of our episodes. We do have a pretty good backlog.
Yep. Congratulations on over 100 episodes, by the way.
Yes,
that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. So
one day we would like to be there. Someday.
Yeah. So check that out. Check it out. You can check out my writing just by looking up like Derick McDuff on Medium. And then if anybody does want to support in any way more financially, and I'm not saying that anybody has to do this, but it's always a nice thing. We just have it just
you have
as an extra.
I'm saying it. Thomas says you have to.
We do have a Patreon that is as low as $1 a month if you want to sign up. That does help us out because we are completely self-funded. I completely am self-taught in all of my editing and work that I do on the podcast because I do produce it and edit it as well. Ariel does the video stuff, but I do all of the audio, and if you listen to like an early episode and you listen to a recent episode, you can hear how I've gotten better and really honed the craft. Very nice. But yeah, we've got a patreon.com/undercast company if anybody wants to check that out. But first and foremost, just if you give us a listen, it really means the world to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, definitely check it out. It's Underrated, UNDERRATED, and the Undercast Company, I believe. Mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed it. You guys have definitely put some movies on my radar that, I'm trying to expand my cinema knowledge and just really kind of go out there in my different genres. And I feel like I've already been excited now to go and listen to, or go and watch, I should say, Stardust, because you sold me on it. So really great episode. Yeah, you guys definitely check it out. Him and his co-host, they have this great back and forth and great synergy together. And yeah, Derick, we really appreciate having you on, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And just real fast, I wanted to say that's so good to hear because that's the whole thing about the podcast. That's why we do underrated movies, because these are like movies that we love and we want more people to see. And the fact that we were able to get you to be like, I'm going to watch Stardust, it means that we're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, job well done.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're going to link all of his stuff in our show notes. And as always, Derick, before you go, can you say thank you for sticking it with us?
Thank you for sticking it with us.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Peace.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow, Joystick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, Thank you. Peace out and make it a great rest of your week.